Okay, in this demo or section, we're going to move to the next step of actually disabling and enabling services both temporarily and persistently. Okay, so what I have here up on screen is I have Ubuntu running and I got my terminal window open. And what I am going to do here is I am going to do some little work here with Apache. Okay, so Apache is the web server that we have available to us in Linux. Well, one of them at least. So what I want to do is I want to actually take that service and see and start it up, shut it down, and then see if I can, do it, across reboots or do it just for a single session until I reboot again. That's so I just want to do some basic stuff with it, and this is all very easy to do. Ubuntu gives us some really nice tools for that. So the main tool for doing this is going to be our systemctl command, and this is what you're going to use in any version of Ubuntu or Debian post, well, at least in Ubuntu past 16.04. I'm in 18 at this point. So what I'm going to do is I am over here in Ubuntu, and I've already entered in some of these commands already just to kind of make so I didn't have to type in everything over and over again, because I'm not the fastest typist. So what I have here is I want to take a look at the services that are actually running on this system at this time. And so, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and I am going to, just hit, enter. I have, service, dash status all. And so this is telling me just a very quick and easy way that all the services that are running or that are on the system, not necessarily running, because if you go down that list, you'll see plus and minuses next to these things. That's telling us if the thing is run, if the service is actually running or not. And so when I go through there, I can see, a lot of things, but the one I'm actually looking at specifically on this is the Apache 2 service. And you can see it's got a minus next to it, so it's not, it's just not, running. Let's double check that though, because we don't just have to go over there and say, yeah, well, it's not running because it's looks like it's got a little minus sign there next to it, so it's dead. That would be sufficient, but let's take a look at a little more detailed view of that. Easiest way to do that is right while I'm here at the console is just do system ctl, and within the systemctl you are going to do a status. Okay, so I got status there, and then since I want to see what the status of the Apache command is, the Apache 2 command, I am gonna go and type in Apache 2 and hit enter, and you can see here it gives me, a lot more information than I was getting just out of that list. Some of the stuff is useful for what we're doing right now. Other stuff, not really necessary, right here at this moment. Okay, so you can see here it's telling me the service. It's confirming the Apache HTTP server. It's confirming that it's loaded, so it is loaded, but that does not equate to it running. Okay, so It's got a little more information there. Then we see active. Active. It says in that line it says active colon, and then you can see it says inactive. So it's not running right now, and it's telling me when it was actually shut down, which at the time this video was capturing this, it was shut down 11 minutes ago. Okay, so I was playing with it a bit before I started recording this lecture slash demo to show you just the stuff with the command. And you can see in there some additional stuff, the process IDs, the main process ID, that would be the parent in this, and then the information underneath it is just giving me some additional stuff about the service, saying it can't tell me what the domain name is for it, and it's because there is no domain name configured for it. So that's, if you're wondering what all that nonsense is down there, that's what it's that's what it's telling me. Okay, so if I want to, if I just want to go and start the Apache service, it's a fairly easy deal. Again, we're going to use the system CTL command, and so the way we would do that is when we use the system CTL command is I am going to do system CTL just like I did before, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do start. And, well, you can imagine if I'm doing start, what am I starting? I'm starting, Apache 2. So I hit enter on that, and it's going to ask me to authenticate. What I actually should have done the way when I ran that is I should have done sudo, because I want to run that as a I want to run that as a root user. So I say sudo systemctl start Apache 2, and comes back, just like that. Okay, so let's just go back a couple commands on here. So service status all. Let's look at that first one. Okay, and scrolls on by, and if you look up top there, it says Apache 2. It's got the plus sign next to it, so it is running. So that's good. And if we just play with it a bit more, so let's see what systemctl, the status of the Apache 2 itself is. Well, we hit enter on that one, and lo and behold, you can see that if we go down there, in fact it's got it highlighted for us, it says it's active, and it's been active for the last 43 seconds, and so that's great. That's really good that it's that way. That's what we want. Okay, so right now the Apache web server is ready to start servicing requests. And keep in mind, we're not fully configuring everything with the Apache service, so don't freak out and send me emails and tell me, oh, well, that's not all of it. No, it's actually for us. We're going to say the service is up and running, and it's ready to start servicing requests. All the other stuff you might have to do or might desire to do requiring Apache, that's up and above the service itself. That's not the that's not the service itself, so we're not worrying about that right now. Okay, so that's good. If you wanted to go and do anything else with it, you have another option. Let's say you wanted to shut down the service. You could do sudo and then do stop, or sorry, sudo system CTL stop, and then do Apache 2. If I enter that, okay, nothing came back, but let's do a status on Apache 2 and see what that tells us. So we do status on Apache 2, we hit enter, and it's shut down again. Okay, keep in mind that when you use start and stop, that is only going to persist for that session. So that means if I do start and stop, if I reboot the system, it's gonna automatically start up the Apache service again, because that in this case is the default state. So that's the way it works. So if it's a service that is normally stopped and you issued the start command, as soon as you rebooted, it would stay that it would go ahead and start up or it would be loaded in a stopped state. Okay, so keep that in mind. Neither start and stop. It's for that session only until you reboot, or again, or until you manually change the status of it. Okay, so, but maybe you don't want things to be that way. Maybe that's not the way that you want things to operate all the time. Well, you can change if you just change the way you are doing things. So I said right now this one it's saying it's inactive, or it's saying it is a dead service. Well, let's kind of take a look. The way things are are kind of set up here. I am going to run and exit out of this, and I'm going to do sudo again just to be safe, and do system ctl. I'm going to say is dash enabled, and I'm going to ask about Apache 2, and it's telling me it's enabled. So uh, even though it's stopped right now, if I reboot this system, it's automatically gonna start up, regardless of the fact that I just issued the stop command on it. Okay, so let's say I don't want to have it that way. Okay, so if you don't want to have it that way, it's actually reasonably easy to go ahead and change that behavior. And there's more ways to do it than the way I'm doing it here. But if I want to disable the Apache service from running, I can just go systemctl disable, and then I put in Apache 2, and if I execute that command, it goes through and does its little magic. And so if I go back and ask this command, it's going to say, as you can see here, it's disabled. So now that means when this system is rebooted, even if Apache's running at this very moment, as soon as the system's rebooted, it reads all the configuration stuff at boot time, and it says, oh, this service is disabled, so it's not going to be running. Okay, so I'd have to manually go in and start this to make it to make it run. If you want to enable it, well, you could probably figure out ways to enable it. You could very easily go over here and just do enable, and that should just go through and do its magic and start the service right back up. And so if we were to confirm this by running our commands from just a moment ago to check the status of it, if you remember, the command to check the status of it and just go over here. Is it enabled? Well, I enabled it, and yes, it is enabled, and that's what we want to see. We want it so we know that now it's back in a state where the system reboots. It's automatically gonna start back up. So, it, so you can very easily interact with that, interact with the service. And there's other ways to check the status of a service too if you want to. I mean, we have is enabled. Well, if the service is enabled, it doesn't necessarily mean it's running right now. So if I did system if I did system CTL and did stop Apache 2 and oops, forgot to do sudo on the front of that again. So I'm gonna put sudo in here, hit enter, and so it's it's stopped. If I go over here saying is it enabled, yeah, it's enabled, so I know if I reboot this it's automatically going to start the Apache service again, but it stopped as of this moment. But you have a way right now of just going, I'm going to do system CTL. In fact, I'm just going to put sudo system CTL, and I'm going to ask the system or query the system to see if it's active. So is active, and I'll put in the name of the service. So once again, it's Apache 2. Hit enter on that, and it's telling me right there it's inactive. It's indeed it is not running. So if I wanted to go ahead and start it back up, I can just well, heck, I'm gonna make it easy here, and I'm gonna go over to this and just instead of scrolling through my whole command history, I'll do start, hit enter on that, and then go over here and say is it active, and yeah, look at that, it's active. So that's pretty cool. Very easy and very quick way to enable and disable services. So what I've done right here is I've had a service which was Apache, which was installed, and it was in its default state of running, but I showed how to just use systemctl to stop the service, which, remember, if I do stop or start, that only lasts through the next reboot, so, or up to the next reboot. So if you reboot the system and you stopped Apache or whatever the service is, and it's configured to run on boot, it's gonna run on boot. No matter, it doesn't matter if you had it stopped already. If it's something that was designed to not run on boot and you started it, it doesn't matter if you started it. It's gonna, when you reboot, it will start. It will load it into a stopped, as a stopped state, and you will have to manually start it again if you want to use it. However, if you want something to always start up, or you want to always be loaded in a disabled or inactive state, then you use enable or disable, and that will make sure it tells the system, hey, I don't want this. I don't want, if it's enabled, let's say start it up automatically when the system boots. If it's disabled, you're telling the system, I don't want this running, when the system starts up. So it takes care of everything in a persistent state. So you have to think about which one you want to use. Neither one of these actually removes the service from the system. So if you did want to remove a service from a system, there's a series of steps for that. So if you want to, take out the Apache service, you'd actually would have to go out and stop the service just like we did, then disable it, and once at that point, then you could go ahead and remove it, and then you would be in a situation where you would be free of the service. You could also use app to remove it as well if you want to go that way. So it all depends on what your preference and choices on that. So that is a look at how to enable and disable services using Apache as our sample service to enable, disable, as well as start and stop and query if it's active or not. So that's information you can query, you can carry over to other services.